Okay, hello everyone. We're going to get started now. My name is Rebecca Johnson with VoIP Supply, and thank you for taking the time to join us today in the webinar we have here. We are joined by our partner Ryan Zoner at Algo Solutions, who's going to be diving into what exactly is new and what's up and what's next with Algo, including the very exciting Microsoft Teams compatibility. So for any questions, we just ask that you please use the Q&A feature or the chat button at the bottom of your screen. We'll be monitoring the chat along the way and either answer the questions during the presentation, or we may save some for the end. Also, today's slides and the recording are going to be sent out to everybody who has attended today. All right, so let's get started.
Perfect. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for taking the time to join. And Rebecca, thank you for the time to discuss today. I got a few slides to run through on the algo side. As Rebecca said, I'm going to talk a little bit about what's new. And I'll run through a few things. Just one administrative note, I can't see your questions. Rebecca's going to jump in if there's something. So if I can't get to it during the presentation, we'll definitely get to it at the end. I'm just not seeing them in front of me. So 3 things I wanted to run through today. The first, I'm going to talk about the transformation to IP endpoints. As much as possible, I like to bring some data, some news on what we see happening in the market. I'm going to just share 3 key data points on that. Talk about some recent releases, Microsoft Teams, our IP display speakers. And then at the end, I'll talk about shaping the solution, some of our real world deployments, how we can take algo endpoints from being singular products into comprehensive communication solutions. And this is just the beginning of the story that I know we'll continue to tell with our partners at VoIP Supply as we continue to unpack that solution set. So starting with the transformation to IP endpoints, I want to start with 3 data points. And we've worked with our research partners to look across the IT infrastructure, the migration that begun with pre-COVID, was accelerated by COVID, and then now is continuing. And we have looked across many different elements of the IT ecosystem. And only 26% of organizations have completed their intended migration to IP endpoints for voice paging, alerting, and mass notification. For context, this compares to 65% of organizations that have done their video conferencing migration, 51% of organizations that have done their video room migration. So critically, IP endpoints are still in the early days of the IP migration, and there's a healthy roadmap of organizations that are continuing to roll off legacy equipment and move into IP. But if you ask these organizations, the groups that have done their migration or have not done their migration, particularly the groups that have not done their migration, and ask them what are critical problems to your ecosystem, 57% of these IT directors state that out-of-date endpoints are critical problems in the short term. And in the short term is the key point there. Most of these, when you dive into the data, is about failures of organizations to integrate their modern UCaaS communication systems and their mass notification systems. But it's stated as a critical problem. And then if you take that to the final element of the conclusion, 56% of these organizations that have not begun their migration plan to begin the migration within the next 2 years. And if we bring that back to some other relevant things, this is higher than video conferencing, where 28% plan to start their migration. And that makes sense, as many of them have already completed that. So I just will start this discussion with that the opportunity for IP endpoints is just at the beginning. The migration is continuing forward. We think there are lots of opportunities to continue to find ways to modernize and help organizations improve their communication ecosystems. And as I will unpack at the end of this discussion, we have an opportunity to help guide folks through that migration step. So I'll start with that data point, but what I really want to talk about and spend the meat of the discussion today are on some of the recent releases from Algo. And there are 2 releases that I am going to talk about in this discussion. The first is our recent release of native integration with Microsoft Teams. This discussion is today the #1 inquiry to Algo. and it is a constant pain point for many organizations. The second thing I'm going to talk about is the IP display speakers, seeing the traction that we're starting to get with these products, and maybe I can unpack a little bit more what's in that suite. Some of you may be familiar, but I'd like to provide a reminder on that as they're exciting new products from the Algo side. So starting with Microsoft Teams, Algo has launched native integration with Microsoft Teams via the Microsoft Teams SIP gateway. Over 15 of our SKUs, and frankly, the majority of the Algo portfolio is compatible with Microsoft Teams. From our speakers to paging adapters, visual alerters, and intercoms, compatible with Microsoft Teams. What this means is you are able to connect an Algo endpoint directly into the Microsoft system without an SBC or other added complicated factors. This will register in the same way that a SIP phone would register into Microsoft Teams via the SIP gateway, and it allows you to have a seamless native experience in this approach. This is now GA with Microsoft, is fully supported, fully available. There's a couple things that are required. Algo devices must be running firmware 5.3.4 or higher, and a Microsoft Teams license must be made available for the endpoint. But increasingly, this is a solution that is unlocking and solving problems for many organizations. One of the most common discussions we hear at Algo is organizations that are coming to us who have already migrated to Microsoft Teams. Typically, this migration has been done for certain elements of Teams, whether it's video conferencing for office employees, other factors. But parts of the organization have been left behind. Often this is a warehouse, a manufacturing facility, and the infrastructure in these environments have not been brought onto the Microsoft ecosystem. And with this native compatibility, we have the ability to bring in our core voice paging, mass notification, and alerting infrastructure directly into the Microsoft ecosystem. There are three main applications that our team is seeing every single day. The first and most common application we see is enabling legacy voice paging systems in Teams. Organizations that had a functional voice paging system, often an analog 70-volt system, they retired their legacy PBX, they migrate into Microsoft Teams, and all of a sudden the connection between their comm system and their paging is broken. In this case, Algo is able to bring forward IP paging adapters that form a seamless bridge between Microsoft Teams and the legacy AMP, providing a very, very cost-effective solution of bringing together these ecosystems. It allows you to avoid the cost and complication of SBCs, but it allows organizations to retain their legacy paging and minimize their cost of transition. Of course, this only brings some of the feature set of the Algo portfolio, but it is a great migration step to bring legacy paging into a Teams environment. The next most common application we get is deploying IP-based voice paging within Microsoft Teams. And this is where the Algo endpoints really start to shine with their native integration. In this environment, all Algo IP speakers can register directly into the Microsoft Teams environment. That means you're able to have direct connection. You can also unlock all of the features of an Algo product, from supervision to the embedded microphone to multicasting. All of that is unlocked in that environment. Commonly, what we see is organizations will use the Algo embedded multicasting functionality to reduce the number of licenses that are required on the Microsoft Teams side. As I mentioned at the beginning, in order to register a device into the SIP gateway, you must have a Microsoft shared device license. That comes with an ongoing cost, but only the devices that are directly registered to Teams need that license. So if you have a large warehouse that needs common communication across the whole warehouse, only a select number of speakers might need to be registered into Teams. These speakers can be set up as the multicast sender. All other Algo speakers can sit on the network as multicast receivers. You've effectively brought in a full IP solution, but minimized your licensing costs. And then the last example we have is loud ringing and emergency alerting. Really the same application as what we are seeing with voice paging, where you want to register endpoints directly into Microsoft Teams. But instead of voice paging, this is now for loud ringing and emergency alerting. Especially common is loud ringing in warehouse environments for Microsoft Teams applications, where we really just need a simple audible or visual alert to notify of a phone ring activity in a loud environment. So 3 common applications we're seeing in the team side. Just for guidance on the Algo portfolio, products are listed here. All Algo IP speakers, paging adapters, visual alerters, and IP displays are certified for Microsoft Teams, and all Algo audio intercoms are certified for Microsoft Teams. Algo video intercoms are not certified for native compatibility. And lastly, Algo's come out with a fair amount of resources that are available to help anyone that is looking at this migration. On the Algo website, we do have a full one-pager that goes through everything Microsoft Teams and Algo compatibility related, walks through the requirements, some of the common deployments, tips and tricks for managing licensing costs using multicast, other features. We also have a full video that walks you through step-by-step how to set up your device in Teams, both on the Algo side and on the Teams admin center side. And then, of course, we have a full configuration guide that gives all the details that are available. So all of this is available. As Rebecca said at the beginning of this call, this presentation will be made available, and all 3 elements are hyperlinked here in the deck if you're looking for access to this. The second update I want to discuss is the Algo IP display speakers. An exciting launch for us that have come out this year. The Algo IP display speakers bring together what I believe are the best of our Algo solutions all into one product. Many of you may know Algo for our IP speakers. We bring the same audible performance to this with high performance wideband speakers. On this product, there are actually 3 speakers in the single-sided solution, 6 speakers in the double-sided solution. These speakers pack a punch with over 100 dB of output, but also delivering highly intelligible audio, meaning you can effectively get strong voice paging, but really break through loud environments for emergency notification. It brings in the multicolor high intensity LED flashers. If you're familiar with Algo strobe lights and visual alerters, this will feel very, very, very similar. It's bringing in the same attention getting LEDs, same functionality of multicolor, multiple flash patterns that can be brought to the table. And then the third element of this product, the biggest part of this product, is the 15.6-inch wide-angle viewable LCD screen. This is new for Algo products, but this allows you to bring an extra element to your alerting and communication ecosystem, complementing the audible and visual communication that you may be familiar with enhanced visual notification. And this could be used for a variety of factors. In downtime, it may be as simple as a clock providing daily updates, status of the facility. But in emergency situations, it may be providing scrolling text, key messages, notifications, lockdown, shelter in place. The opportunities of what can be displayed on this screen are really up to your imagination. We have started to see organizations get quite creative of how this can be deployed, and we're quite excited about the solutions that this brings. An example here, just of some of the core features, and these features are going to feel very similar as your other Algo endpoints. These products are still PoE Plus or PoE++ powered, so no AC power, everything running over a single Ethernet cable. I will stress that the double-sided solution really should be PoE++ powered. And if you don't have a PoE++ switch, then I'd recommend getting an injector. This ensures that you're going to get ultimate brightness out of the screen and ultimate noise out of the speaker. As I've mentioned, wideband audio available in all of these products. Wide UC compatibility. So the same UC compatibility you've come to know and expect of Algo in our other endpoints, you're going to see the same thing here, whether it's Teams that I just mentioned or other UC platforms, Zoom, RingCentral, 8x8, go across the list. We have over 65 partners that we work with in that. Multicast capable, network configurable, and like everything else, secure SIP with modern TLS and SRTP protocols. We've launched 2 solutions. I've mentioned the single-sided and double-sided briefly when I talked about the power requirements, but really 2 solutions. The 8410 is our single-sided speaker. It includes 1 LCD screen, 1 set of speakers, 1 strobe light. The 8420 is a duplication on both sides, so 2 LCD screens, 2 sets of speakers, 2 sets of strobe lights. Really, this is designed, the single-sided, to be surface mounted onto a wall, classrooms, waiting rooms, hospitals, staff rooms. 8420 is designed to be mounted on a wall or in a corridor. It can be ceiling or wall mounted. This is great if you're talking about a hallway in a school, corridor in a hospital, or large open rooms where you want to project audio in 2 directions and visual in 2 directions. They function identically. What you put on one screen will go on both screens. and the mounting options that I mentioned on the 8420. On the screen here, you see it on the wall mount orientation, but that bracket that is on the left side there can also be positioned on the top of the product to allow this to be ceiling mounted as well. And lastly, just some new things from the Algo device management platform. Some of you may be familiar with it, but just before I go into what's new, I do just want to quickly remind how Algo devices can be configured and managed. We really have 3 ways to go about that. The first is that every device is web configurable. If you're looking to manage a single device, change config settings, it's as simple as entering the IP address into your web browser, accessing the device, and you have full control over the device. This is the simplest way to adjust a device. Also becomes increasingly impractical if you have hundreds or thousands of devices to go into them one by one. And that's where we have our device management solutions. The next is our dedicated device manager. It's the 8300 supervision device. This is an on-prem solution. It allows you to access all other Alco devices on your LAN. It gives you some centralized device management, supervision, notification if a device goes offline, brings everything together in one common view. I find this really powerful if you're on one local network. I also find it incredibly powerful for integrators who are looking to deploy products for a customer to bring AB300 as part of their kit for the installation, even if they're just using it as a tool for the installation services. And then lastly is our ADMP, our Algo Device Management Platform. This is a cloud-based solution. This allows you to access devices from anywhere at any time. It allows you to monitor them, supervise them, and do some elements of management. I will talk today about some new features. I will also stress that we have a very robust 2024 roadmap behind the ADMP, enhanced features, full device management, increased controls of things like the IP displays and scheduler and other tools. So a lot more being built behind this. Our engineering team is busy cooking up new features and working against this as we speak. But recently released, if you're not familiar, zero touch provisioning. I know the team at VoIP Supply has done some great work showcasing this to the audience. But zero touch provisioning is available now in the ADMP. A couple reasons that we find this being used. First of all, stress that the zero touch provisioning is a free service. While the ADMP does come with monthly costs for devices, you are able to access the ADMP free of cost for zero touch provisioning. You just need to engage Algo to be provided with a license, and that can be provided. This tool is predominantly designed as a redirection tool. This means this will redirect the devices to your provisioning server. It can also push simple configurations directly. We don't recommend that be the primary application, although sometimes that's a great tool if your main config you're trying to push is just to make sure that the devices show up in your ADMP account, which is a common way of using this. So with that, there's really 2 common use cases, and I do just want to explain those here. The first is using the ZTP for a common redirection. So you may have your provisioning server set up, you have your provisioning details, you want to use a provisioning config where the Algo device will take the configuration settings of your provisioning server. Thus, on wake up, the devices will reach out to the Algo ZTP platform. They will find their MAC address. They will find that it is going to have been provided with a provisioning file, which will send it to the provisioning server. And there you have it. Your device is going to be via zero touch set up in your provisioning server of choice. The second is what we like to call auto ADMP. Maybe you're not looking to use a full provisioning server, but what you'd like to do is when all the devices are plugged in, you want them to automatically show up in your ADMP so they can be monitored and managed. And in this case, you'll just set up the configuration on your devices so that they have the tenant ID and passwords of your ADMP account, allowing those devices when they're plugged in and coming online, they'll automatically start showing up in your ADMP account. This is really nice if you're not looking to use it for management, but you want to make sure you're monitoring every device that is going out into the field. So 3 things on what's new, just quick summary. Microsoft Teams compatibility, it's in GA, functional, Algo devices are natively compatible. It's a great, straightforward solution. IP displays are available in market. We're starting to see some great feedback on the deployments. Excited about what those products bring to the table, and really the creativity of the end user or the integrators allow us to get more and more out of these products by putting more on the screen and coming up with more solutions. Our team's always interested in hearing about additional feature requests, and if there's anything anyone on this call ever has questions for or feedback, please reach out to your team at VoIP Supply or to Algo, and we're happy to take those feature requests. And then lastly, everything I just mentioned on zero-touch provisioning in the ADMP, and as I said, a healthy 2024 roadmap in that. And then last, Algo has launched an Algo Authorized Integrator program for any integrators who are looking to become trained, certified. We're happy to work with you. You can engage your team at VoIP Supply. They can connect you into the right members at Algo, and we can make sure you have the resources you need as an Algo Authorized Integrator to be successful out in the market. Also an opportunity to be referred leads directly from Algo. And then last, I do just want to pivot direction here, and instead of talking about what's recently launched, I want to talk about shaping the customer story. I'm going to spend maybe 3 to 4 minutes on 3 examples here, talking about how we can bring together Algo endpoints to make a cohesive communication system. I'm going to talk briefly about education, I'm going to talk about healthcare, and I'm going to talk about manufacturing and warehousing. Candidly, I could spend a whole hour on each dedicated topic, unpacking where we've seen customers have successes, some of the concerns customers have fallen into, and how we mitigate some of those, some of the pitfalls in deployment. So I'll just stress that this is just the beginning of the conversation. We're always happy to dive in more, and I'm just going to stay at a relatively high level on this. But I do want to start first as an example looking at IP endpoints for education. What we've pulled together here on the left is a sample school, a obviously condensed down minimal number of classrooms, but indicative of a school environment. And what we would stress is pulling together, in this case, 9 different Algo endpoints. All of a sudden, you're not talking about products, a speaker, a strobe light, an intercom. When you pull together the 9 products, what you're talking about is a communication ecosystem. You're talking about a comprehensive communication tool that allows an organization, in this case like a school, to effectively deliver audible, visual communication notification across their entire premise. So in this example, we've pulled forward 9 products, and I'm just going to talk about what those are. The first is going to be your horn speakers, your outdoor speakers, your loudspeakers, commonly being deployed in schools in outdoor spaces, in gymnasiums, where you need something loud, you need something rugged, whether it's going to be rugged for weather, like temperature and rain, or whether it's going to be rugged to withstand a strike of a basketball. These are great products for solutions like that. For those of you not familiar with the Algo horn speakers, they're all IP66 rated, wet weather rated, can be deployed outdoors, indoors, very, very rugged, very, very loud speakers delivering about 116 dB of output. The next 2 items we have are items 2 and item 3, increasingly becoming a core part of the education ecosystem, are new IP display speakers. The IP display speakers single-sided 8410s are going in classrooms. These are giving your classrooms all the voice paging elements, also all visual notification elements, serving as well as the clock, the date, everything else you might need in that classroom. Like all other Algo IP endpoints, the Algo speakers, I should say, they include an embedded microphone, which can enable 2-way talk to that classroom. It can also enable ambient noise detection to get louder if the classroom is louder, quieter if the classroom is quieter for a period of silent reading, perhaps. And then we have the option of the double-sided display speakers going in the hallways, commonly deployed in hallways and corridors, large open areas. In this case, you can see 2 of them being deployed, projecting up and down the hallway, both visual and audible notification through these hallways. Complementing the visual display speakers are often ceiling speakers. These may go in large classrooms where you need additional audio sounds. They may go in different areas where you don't want to put a display speaker and you're trying to manage costs. They may go in the hallway to give you added audible messaging. So commonly deployed would be the ceiling speakers. The next couple products being deployed if the applications require it. Visual alerting, often in cases like the gymnasium, sometimes in classrooms, organizations want the ability to not only have audible messaging, but visual notifications. So if it's very loud, like a gymnasium can be, and you want to get the attention of everybody in that gym, Not only might you have your audible messaging start to go off, but you may have the strobe light start activating to get everybody's attention. We also then have our paging adapters, commonly deployed even in a full IP environment because it comes with an embedded scheduler. In this example, now you have your bell scheduling brought into this ecosystem. And then the last three solutions, call buttons, intercoms, and then device management, all viable things if you're looking to have emergency notification, secure door entry, and device management. They can really bring together your ecosystem. So this is the common set that we see in a school. This is how we see organizations deploying into schools today to deliver effective audible communication, voice paging, mass notification. And it really takes us from talking about a single product to talking about a whole comm system. And as I've stressed at the beginning, this is a comm system that can be deployed with your unified communication platform, with your mass notification platform, really anything that's going to embrace SIP communication. Moving forward, I'm going to talk about a hospital. Similar idea, similar application, but in the hospital, we see a little bit of a different pivot on this. So in the hospital, we see the first product is a lot of ceiling speakers. So we often see ceiling speakers being deployed in common areas, key rooms, ensuring that audible messages can reach all elements of the hospital. This is really, really important when we're talking about code calls, trying to ensure that the right folks are being notified of activities that may occur. But then when you bring into the display speakers, item 3 and 4, this is where you can really enhance a hospital-based communication. Not only are you giving an audible communication of a code blue, you also could be showing code blue on the screens. You can provide some activity of where that code blue may be coming from, and it gives much more information to organizations. That, of course, can be complemented with visual alerters, call buttons on the wall, and then as like the school having a device management system in place, whether it's the ADMP or something on-prem, allows the IT teams to manage their whole ecosystem across the school. So often in this case, it's interesting, education and healthcare have similar products in their deployment being used in similar ways, but that's where the creativity of products like the IP displays allow you to really flex that for the different deployments. Last application, I'm going to talk about a warehouse. This could be true for a manufacturing facility, a logistics facility. This is something that we see a lot of at Algo. Organizations who are looking to ensure there is proper communication in these industrial environments, especially orgs that have maybe migrated to modern UC platforms. A lot of office workers can be reached via their browser, via their phone, via their computer. But warehouse workers moving around might not be sitting in front of a computer, might not be sitting in front of a phone. And if we need to notify them of an emergency or critical message, that's where this sort of solution is going to provide a nice complement to your modern UC ecosystem. So we often see these 5 products being deployed in warehouses. You'll see we're not seeing the IP displays, but in turn we are seeing more speaker solutions, rugged solutions that are going to uphold the tough, difficult environment of a warehouse. So item number 1 is our audio alerter. Those of you familiar with Algo may be familiar with our 8180 audio alerter. Great, robust speaker solution that is highly effective at notification as well as voice paging. We often see this going in for loud ringing applications, especially if there's machinery, whether that's forklifts, large fans, production conveyor belts. It may make it hard to hear a phone ringing. And so things like the audible alerter will go in to make sure phone ring detection isn't missed. Maybe there is a truck at the door and he's ringing an intercom and you want to hear that ring. That's where something like this may amplify that activity. We see ceiling speakers going into places in these environments where you may have offices that are built into the warehouse and you want to make sure that you can address that office directly. So ceiling speakers are commonly deployed. But then when you leave those offices and you go out into the racking, the shelving, into the industrial areas, that's where we see horn speakers commonly being deployed, being very loud, being very rugged, being very robust. Like the other 3 applications, when it is unable to deliver just audible messaging, we may want to bring visual notification into it. And that's where our visual alerters, our strobe lights can be deployed. We often will recommend these to be deployed when hearing protection is being worn, if it's very, very, very loud, to make sure folks are getting their attention before audible messages are delivered. And like the other applications, Doors can be secured with our intercoms, and paging adapters can be deployed to provide schedulers. In manufacturing and warehousing applications, this is often shift change, key messages, ongoing notifications needed to make sure that's done, to make sure you have the embedded scheduler. So that's a high level run through of 3 applications. Again, I could really unpack each part of one of these. Not the intent today to go through it. I would encourage you, if you're interested in understanding more about how algo endpoints can be deployed into one of these 3 applications, or frankly any other applications, the team at VoIP Supply can help you with that. They also can pull in members of the algo team to really go through that, bring reference customers, anything else that might be required. So with that, I'll close on 3 points. I started today's conversation with a few points of data. First points of data were that 26% of organizations have completed their migration to IP endpoints. That means 3/4 of organizations still have this migration to go. And I would say that means the market and the opportunity for IP endpoints is still heating up. Our new products and releases are driving activity, whether that's Microsoft Teams. We're excited about what that's going to do for organizations in simplifying their communication in a Teams environment, whether that's our IP displays, or whether that is the ADMP making life easier for folks with new features like zero-touch provisioning. And lastly, Algo's suite of IP endpoints is more than just single products. It's not just an IP speaker or an IP strobe light. It is really about a complete communication ecosystem. And I went through education, healthcare, and warehousing, but this could be true for other verticals such as transportation. And we are happy to work with you to help solution out that for your organization, for your customer organizations, to help showcase how this is much more than just a singular product. So I thank everyone ever so much for the time. I think that's the end of my discussion. I will pause here and turn it over to you, Rebecca, if there are any questions for me.
Sure. The 2 that came in during your examples, someone has asked that they're possibly interested in something that would act like an emergency blue light phone, possibly where the intercom would act as an IP phone with talkback capabilities. Just want to
Yeah,
make sure that I read that correctly.
Yeah, so I think that's definitely something that can be done. So of course our intercoms do have two-way talk. So you have the ability to walk up to an intercom, initiate a call. We have seen organizations do that, tying in an intercom and a strobe light. So when that intercom initiates a call, it's also going to activate that strobe light. And that strobe light can be going off to provide that visual awareness. At the same time, that can initiate and open a SIP call. Frankly, any algo product can initiate a SIP call and open up that two-way conversation. An intercom would be the most common for this. Our Algo 8201 IP intercom is the common solution that's deployed, but you could use an Algo call button that has a control box in behind it to do the same activity. If there's a specific application that you're looking for in that, happy to kind of dive into that one specifically with one of our solution engineers, as that's something we have seen previously, and we definitely can bring together a couple endpoints to make that happen.
Thank you. And then would that be Microsoft certified as well?
It would be. So every single device that I talked about today is certified with Microsoft. The only devices in the Algo portfolio, the IP devices that are not certified for native compatibility, are the video intercoms. Every other product is certified. So whether that's what I just talked about for the blue light or anything else, all certified with Microsoft Teams.
And with that being said, what type of Microsoft license is required for the Teams connected
Yeah,
devices?
so you can use multiple types of licenses. You could use a regular, standard 365 license like a business or E3, E5, but more commonly what's being deployed are a shared device license. That's what used to be called a common area phone license. Most cost effective, designed for that common area phone, now called a shared device license. That is what I would say is being deployed if you're going to use it for voice paging or anything else. But if you were looking to add loud ringing to an existing Microsoft extension, you could simply register that Algo device directly to the Microsoft license of that extension. As a true tangible example, in my Microsoft account, if I wanted to put a loud ringer on my desk, I could register that loud ringer through the SIP gateway directly to my Microsoft account. And when my Microsoft Teams rings, that loud ringer would ring as well.
Sounds good. That's all the questions that we had come on in right now. But if anybody else has any questions or comments, concerns, please feel free to reach out to any of us here at VoIP Supply. We'd be happy to make sure that we get all your questions answered, and we will definitely be sending out the slides in the recording. Thank you so much, Ryan.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Rebecca. Thank you, everyone, for the time.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.